What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with reactions to the classics, and today we got another Fiona Apple album reaction. This time we got the Idler's Wheel. Don't worry, I'll give you the full title in a minute. Brought to you by friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, Vita. Thank you, Vita. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out that Patreon link below, the Patreon link on the end screen. We could not do it without them. Do about 35 videos a month, tons of man hours. It's a labor of love, but we couldn't do it without the patrons. All right, I've already done Win the Pawn, which was her second album, Extraordinary Machine, which was her third album, and Fetch the Bolt Cutters, which is her fifth album. So this one, you got it, is her fourth album. We're filling in all the gaps. And the full title, just because I know you want to hear me say it. The outer wheel is wiser than the driver of the screw, and whipping cords will serve you more than the ropes will ever do. Of course, it's frequently abridged as the idler wheel. This guy right here is going to abridge it that way from here on in. Like her second album, Win the Pawn, which also is a very long title. Its title derives from a poem written by Fiona herself. It was released in June of 2012 and debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. That was as high as it made it. Her highest debut yet, and it's 68 in the UK. The album received a nomination at the 2013 Grammy Awards for Best Alternative Album. It's interesting where you put Fiona's music. Like, what do you exactly call it? It's kind of without description. I don't know if I'd call it alternative, but you might, and the Grammys did. The album received widespread acclaim from critics and was frequently included in the year and decade list by several publications. In 2020, Rolling Stone placed this at number 213 on the 500 greatest albums of all time. Kind of the way this came about. Following the delays and controversy surrounding the release of Extraordinary Machine, which was all the way back in 2005, she began recording new material for this album in secret, kept it even from her label, which was Epic Records. When asked by Black Book magazine when the recording sessions began, she said, quote, "Must have started in 2008 or 2009. I don't know. I have no idea. It's weird to think that there was 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. Where have I been? What was I doing? What was that year about?" She elaborated. "It was very casual, and I wasn't fully admitting that I was making an album. I got to use the time in the studio to inspire me to finish other things rather than feel like I was finishing homework to hand in. It wasn't a lot of pressure, and the record company didn't know I was doing it, so nobody was looking over my shoulder." I think there's some wisdom to that. Now, usually, but especially back in the day when you were renting studio time, you couldn't do this. The label was paying for the studio time, but they were charging it back and taking it out of whatever profit the artist made, so you had to hurry up. So this is a nice way to do it. And also a change up here. Instead of her longtime collaborator, John Bryan, Apple opted to produce the album with her touring drummer, Charlie Drayton, probably partly because she recorded over such a long period of time, I would guess. I couldn't find it there, but that would be my speculation. Executives at Epic found out that she had recorded her album in early 2012 when she presented it to him. She just showed up and said, "Here you go." The album was originally planned for release in 2011, but she delayed the release until her label found a new president in 2012, explaining she didn't want her work to be mishandled amid corporate disarray. Fiona's smart. Fiona's ahead of the game. Some reviews: Entertainment Weekly an A, NME 8 out of 10, Pitchfork 9.0 out of 10, Spin at 8 out of 10, and Metacritic 89 out of 100. They take all of the reviews and combine them together. It's named the best album of 2012 by Time Magazine, Stereogum, Spinner, and NPR's Music Fresh Air. Ranked at number 2 on the list of Consequence of Sound and Entertainment Weekly. If you haven't been with us before, the music will not be in the video, but it's going to be at a Vimeo link below. So click on that and follow along with us. Let's jump in. Our first track, You See It Below. Every Single Night, released as the only single from this album. She and producer Charlie Drayton opted to use minimal musical arrangement in the song, and really in this whole album that I read, by performing on a celesta and a marimba. The song chronicles what Apple used to dream every night. Quote, "Every single night's a fight with my brain." And this song also ranked at number 7 on American Songwriters' Top 50 Songs of 2012. And in Pitchfork's Top 100 Tracks of 2012, it was number 35. So high praise. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always, which is important for Fiona. Thanks again, Vita. All right, really good track. You got to remember, too, it's the first song she released any sort of new music in 7 years. So this is what she wanted everybody to hear first. Starts off with that instrumentation, sounding almost like we're going to hear a lullaby. And then it's fantastic. She's talking about those thoughts she fights in her mind, right? I think, and a lot of us do, especially when you're stressed out, we're thinking about things, and every single night she fights them. So she has these great ways of describing them, as she always does. But she says, "Every single night's a fight with my brain, the way she sings that in the chorus. I just want to feel everything," in the refrain. But after she goes through that refrain and I just want to feel everything, then things kind of change. She kind of accepts who she is, I think. And then the pre-chorus towards the end, what I am is what I am because it does what I does. And maybe I'd relax, but my breast just bust open and my heart's made of parts of all that surround me. And that's why the devil just can't get around me because she's connected to everyone, right? So I just think, and she gets back into the chorus single night's all right. Every single night's a fight. And every single night's all right with my brain. So she's kind of accepted. And then she finishes with, I just want to feel everything. Great way to start this album. Next up, we have Daredevil. All right, Daredevil. Really, this song, I would have named it, I Might Need a Chaperone. But Fiona does this on a lot of her songs. She'll just pick a word that's in there, random word. Not random, but she'll pick a word that's not what you would expect, or a line that's not what you expect to be the title of the song. So I think that's pretty cool. I thought the arrangement, we're going to say this a lot, it's unique. Right? You had an acoustic bass on here, and I think that kind of gave it that. Sebastian Steinberg's playing that, and the guitar on here, and obviously Fiona's on the piano. But she starts out, the verse 1 kind of tells you the story of the song. I guess I just want to be a daredevil. I don't feel anything until I smash it up. I'm caught on the cold, I'm caught on the hot, not so with the warmer lot. And all I want's a confidant to help me laugh it off and don't let me ruin me. I may need a chaperone. So she wants to take things to extremes, but she knows when she does that, she's going to need somebody there to help her or maybe tell her to dial it back. So smart songwriting, you're going to hear that a lot, I'm sure, as well. Next up, you have Valentine. She first played this song at Largo on Valentine's Day, all the way back in 2007. And she said at the time that the song was not about a man or a lover, but instead about a girl she admired and would like to be more like. So keep that in mind when we're listening to it. Really nice piano on this one. I mean, great writing as you would expect. I mean, it gets a little intricate. I won't even go into all the references to things, but at the end of the day, she's viewing this person that she loves. Now, I mean, obviously afterwards it was a girl that she admired, but in the context of the song, it seems like it's someone that she loves, and that person isn't really as much into her. So then eventually she goes on a date, but she has those salty tears crying down into her meal. Just all of those things, man. And then I'm a tulip in a cup. I forgot about that. We used to do that, especially back in the 80s. I stand no chance of growing up. So confined. I'm resigned to sail on through in the wake of tales of you, hearing about you. I root for you. I love you. You. It's very catchy, man. Very catchy, but very well done. All right, next up, we have Jonathan. In an interview with Interview Magazine, didn't mean to be redundant there, but that's what it is. Fiona explained that the song is named after Jonathan Amos, the American author and screenwriter she dated. She said, quote, I did that because Jonathan likes his name to be spoken. He pisses me off in so many ways, but I'm still very close with him. I felt like he deserves to have a song with his name in it. She also did an interview with Pitchfork. She said, I had come to New York for 3 months to write and to take a visual perception class at the New School. I was at the piano and I started writing a musical piece that reminded me of Jonathan because he is so extreme in some ways. He is just so hilariously quiet on a day-to-day basis, but when he's on stage or excited with a group of people, he's just embarrassingly bombastic. So I was like, hey, I'm writing this music and it reminds me of you. And he was like, does it have my name in it? I thought, I'll do that for him. But then we broke up. She also told him about the instrumentation on this song. On the first night of recording with Charlie Drayton, we walked by this bottle-making factory. The door was open and you could hear a machine running. We both had our recorders with us and we agreed that the sound would be good for the song Jonathan. Juan, the guy working the night shift at the factory, let us walk through and record the sound of the machine. So that's what you're going to hear. All right, Jonathan. So I thought the arrangement was really good because the music was a little haunting, a little uneven, the arrangement, because this is not a love song to Jonathan. And Fiona talks about it. She said that she was in a deep depression, didn't want to live at the time she was doing this, that she wrote this song. She said she was just really depressed and she didn't want to talk to him, just be comforted by him. So that's why you could just tolerate my little fist tugging on your forest chest. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about anything. And I thought verse 2 was interesting. Jonathan, anything and anyone you have done has got to be all right with me. If she's part of the reason you are how you are, she's all right with me. So she's accepted anyone he's been with in the past because that formed who he is now. So that was really good songwriting on here and very smart arrangement. Obviously we know we got the sounds from the factory there, but not letting you settle in to think this is some sort of love song if you're not paying attention to it, because it's not. It's not. It's a very vulnerable song, as Fiona does. Except we got Left Alone. It was the first song she wrote for the album, and in her profile in Vulture magazine, she said this was her favorite song on the album. Left Alone, a fantastic vocal performance, right? She's talking really fast, Then she gets kind of into that jazz stuff, and then she holds notes there and there, like all kinds of stuff going on. But once again, kind of the uneven instrumentation to it, lets you know that there's some bad stuff going on. And like her writing is just so fantastic, left alone. So she's basically, I'll just read you verse 1 because it has such good writing. You made your major overtures when you were sure an Oraton mutt, and I was still a dewy petal rather than a moribund slut. My love wrecked you. You packed to twirl your skirt at the palace. It hurt more than it ought to hurt. I went to work to cultivate a callus. So she's saying she thought she had power over this guy, but she was treating him so badly and had so many issues going on that he went ahead and stood up for himself and left. And so now she's going, the last line, I went to work hard to, or went to work to cultivate a callus, so she's not going to feel anymore. And then pre-chorus, and now I'm too hard to know. I don't cry when I'm sad anymore. No. Tears calcify, my tummy fears coincide with the toe. And the chorus, how can I ask anyone to love me when all I do is beg to be left alone? So instead of loving, right, and taking that risk of getting hurt, she's just like, I'm not going to allow anybody to get close to me. Now, I've been around several people like that in my life, and it's sad. I get the self-preservation, but it's sad. But what a vocal performance and what a writing performance. As we reach the halfway mark, there's 11 songs. So this is song number 6. We got Werewolf. Fiona told Pitchfork in that interview in 2012, I wrote that song while staying at my mother's apartment up in Harlem. Whenever there's a TV, I put on Turner Classic Movies. I always have it on while I sleep, whatever. I was recording myself doing the song for the first time, and a battle broke out in the movie that was playing. People were shooting and screaming. I liked it, but I couldn't use it from the movie. So I spent literally the next year trying to recreate that sound. I went to San Francisco for Halloween. I was hanging out in trolleys, recording people screaming. I would walk past a bunch of drunk people and be like, hey, scream. But it would always sound wrong and stupid. But on the first morning we were planning to record, I had just gotten out of the shower and I heard all these kids screaming. There's an elementary school across from my house in LA. I was like, oh, that's it. I threw on whatever was right there, which I didn't realize at the time was a pair of pants that I was going to throw away because the ass was split, and I ran out half clothed carrying my recording thing. I was standing there looking like a crazy person watching these kids. They were jumping with balloons between their legs trying to make them pop. In the actual song, we had to take out all the balloon pops because they sounded like gunshots, but it was so perfect. There's never probably a dull story behind a Fiona song. All right, we heard the kids screaming there at the end. I think when she's talking about nothing's wrong when the song ends in a minor key, the first time she says it, I gotta find where it is up in the first chorus, but we can support each other. All we gotta do is avoid each other. Nothing wrong when the song ends in minor key. So it didn't end well. Right? It didn't end well. But at the very end when she talks, so this relationship, they're just kind of like, right? They just can't get along. They just don't mix well together. But at the very end, when the last chorus, when she goes up 4 times, nothing's wrong with a song that ends in a minor key. It actually ends in a minor key, and almost no songs don't usually end in a minor key. So I just thought that was a little witty to do that. But I think it has 2 different meanings as she uses it throughout the song. Now we got Periphery, which my research is Fiona and Charlie Drayton used all kinds of different kinds of homemade percussion for the background effects. So let's see what we think of that. Periphery. So Fiona's saying she doesn't care about being popular, and those people that do, she doesn't really have any use for him. And then as it goes on, she's with this guy, but then he leaves her and kind of goes for the periphery. He's going to want to be with somebody, start the family, the whole thing. And she's like, that's not really what we're here for, sort of. That's kind of what, but she's hoping he'll make a good family man for someone else. It's just not for her. So another well-written song or piano playing is fantastic. Next up, we have the only song I couldn't find anything on. We got Regret. Regret, once again, interesting percussion. All these songs, even though there's not a lot of instrumentation on them, they are interesting. And Regret, I mean, she's dating a guy. She has a good outlook on life, but he's a total cynic. So it makes her eventually, she didn't know regret till she was with him, get that way too. And the chorus talks about that. Every time you address me, I ran out of white dove's feathers trying to make it peaceful. Eventually she became that way. And then verse 3, remember when I was so sick and you didn't believe me, then you got sick and guess who took care of you? You hated that, didn't you? Now when you look at me, you're condemned to see the monster your mother made you to be. And there you got me. That's how you got free. You got rid of me. So he realized in that moment she took care of him, but he didn't take care of her, that he had kind of become like his mother. That's what I get out of that. And at the very end, alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. So kind of like Left Alone, an earlier song. Someone else has made her this jaded. I mean, I say it on every song. Really good writing. We got 3 songs left. We got Anything We Want. About the instrumentation on the song, Fiona told Pitchfork, on this song, I've been playing this stupid pipe thing live, but that sound was actually me at my desk with a pair of scissors, a tin full of burnt cedar sachets, and a plastic cup. I was hitting everything with scissors, and the cedar was flying all over the place. Homemade instrumentation all around on this. All right, Anything We Want. Pretty simple. She's likes this guy a lot, and they're wanting to get alone so they can do anything that they want. So that's pretty much what it's about. So a more upbeat song compared to what we've had. Upbeat as far as lyrical content, right, and mood, and some fun sounds in there, like for sure. Now we come to the last song on the proper album. I'm actually going to go one more song. I don't usually ever do that, but there's a bonus on the digital editions. It's only 2 minutes, 38 seconds after this song. So this would have been the last song on the normal album. So we got Hot Knife. And Fiona's older sister, Amber, who's a cabaret singer that records under the name of Maud Maggart, joins her later in the song. Fiona told New York Magazine that they'd stood at the same microphone for hours, weaving their voices in what she called the most intimate moment of our lives together. All right, Hot Knife. This is the reason why I don't play bonus tracks, but I already told you I was going to, so I will on Largo. But this is how the album was supposed to end. And this song's fantastic, and it's so much different than anything else, right? It's just basically playing off these two have chemistry. And the feeling is mutual because it switches perspectives. But her and her sister and just the harmonies and the production, whereas in the other songs, they're produced well, but there's not any, I don't want to say fancy stuff, but, there's no like really intricate stuff. Whereas this song is just intricate by the way their voices meld together and the harmonies and the different things. Just a fantastic way to end out the proper album. But I'm going to give you that bonus track, which I know nothing about because there's nothing out there on it. This bonus on digital editions, we got Largo. All right, Largo. It's a bonus track. I'm not going to talk much about it. It's about her beloved club in LA, Largo. It was fine. It's probably my least favorite song on here, so I shouldn't have played it. I violated my own rule because I like to keep it how the artist wanted. It's still a fine song. Well, let's talk about the proper album. So we got to come to my favorite tracks. Honorable mentions Every Single Night and Jonathan faves are going to be Valentine, Left Alone, Werewolf, and Hot Knife. Got to do it on that last song. So 6 of the 10. And I mean, I like the other tracks as well. Now we're going to my overall grade. Pretty easy on this one. Sometimes I struggle with what I want to give some. This one's pretty easy. It's an 8.75 on first listen. This album's phenomenal. The arrangements are great, even though they're not, even though we're not talking about a ton of instruments and the way she did it and produced it herself. The songwriting is top notch. She sounds great, but the rawness of the songwriting, as I expect from Fiona, is fantastic. So thank you to Vita for bringing this one. Let me know what you think of this album down below. Tell me your favorite tracks. I have 3 other albums that I mentioned at the start of Fiona, so we've almost run her entire catalog because there's only 5 in the catalog. So let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching. Until next time, guys, I will see you.